Formula One, the biggest spectacle in motorsport. Millions of fans tune in every year to watch 20 of the greatest drivers in the world battle it out on some of the most awe-inspiring tracks across the globe to earn their right to call themselves the greatest driver in the world. Each year sees exciting on-track battles, terrifying crashes, and battles for the championship that go down to the wire. Well, except for the last 2 years where Max Verstappen curb-stomped his competition, or the whole half-decade of Lewis Hamilton being untouchable, or the 5-year stretch of Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. Anyways, Formula One visits a variety of tracks around the world, such as the classic Silverstone circuit in Great Britain, the swooping hills of Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, the beautiful coastside streets of Monaco, the parking lot of a football stadium in Miami.
Disgusting!
But have you ever noticed that in the background of some of these tracks, you would see a roller coaster or a Ferris wheel towering up above? For a while, I wondered what these parks were and what was contained within them. And in my research, I found some of the zaniest, weirdest theme parks in the world. Today, I want to take you on a world tour and show you some parks that you probably wouldn't think about otherwise. Now, the rules are simple. All of these parks mentioned in this video must be visible from the track, meaning if the park is built a couple miles away from the track, it will not be mentioned here. This means places like Luna Park in Melbourne, Australia, and the Adventure Dome in Las Vegas unfortunately do not qualify here. Also, current and former tracks are eligible, so not only are we taking a trip around the world, but we're taking a trip through time as well. Anyways, let's not waste any more time and start talking about theme parks. My name is Smooth, and these are theme parks built next to F1 tracks. And to start, let's take a trip to the Far East. Nestled in the hills of Suzuka, Japan, you'll find one of the most legendary tracks on the Formula One calendar, the Suzuka International Racing Course. This track features one of the most challenging layouts on the calendar, testing cars' grip and drivers' endurance through incredible flowing corners like the S's, Spoon Corner, and the almighty 130R. This track has seen overtakes that are the stuff of legend, and heart-pounding title-deciding moments that are still being talked about to this day. And sitting behind the front stretch is one of the most bizarre theme parks I have ever come across, Suzuka Circuit Park. This park takes the racing theme and goes so balls to the wall with it that they ended up creating some of the zaniest rides that have ever been brought into existence. Now, some of you might be familiar with this park's most famous coaster, a family coaster called Adventure Drive. This custom-built coaster has you ride in a safari jeep through the ruins of an ancient temple to find what the park's website describes as a power ring. I mean, judging by onboard footage, you never seem to come across said ring, so mission failed, I guess? But where this coaster gets its fame is from this bizarre section in the middle of the coaster. After crossing a bridge, the car stops in front of a sign that says danger, and riders are instructed to scream as loud as they can. The louder passengers scream, the faster the coaster will launch off into the rest of the course. Now, this is one of the most absurd elements to a coaster I have ever seen. Like, could you imagine going on Top Thrill 2 and you had to scream right before the launch to determine how fast you'd launch off into the course? Well, it's a shame you can't imagine that since the coaster only operated for a week before breaking immediately and not reopening afterwards. Another bizarre coaster you'll find here is GP Racers, a motorbike-style coaster where you race against another set of passengers. I love how part of this coaster rolls over the front stretch of the Grand Prix track, which offers such a unique view, especially on race days. I also love this little section of track where they added curbing on the apex to mimic you being on a Grand Prix track. This is a really cute coaster that adds a lot to the whole experience of this park. The other big highlight of this park is Dual GP. Now, although not listed as a coaster on Roller Coaster Database, the park's website promotes this as a battle coaster. Basically, riders get in a car and race against another car on a mock-up track, but the gimmick here is that you can control which direction the car is facing. This leads to hilarious moments where if the driver isn't good at what they're doing, they end up spinning out of control. Or if they are extremely good at what they do, they could do a 360 pass for the lead, which is totally possible in real-life racing.
Oh! What an overtake!
180 overtake. Wow. I'm so cool.
Shut up, bro.
Outside of the three headliners, this park has a giant Ferris wheel which is extremely visible from the track, a bunch of go-kart and mini bike racing tracks, a plethora of flat rides, a classic Japanese-style jet coaster, and on select days, an experience called Circuit Challenger, where you can hop in an electric go-kart and drive around the Suzuka circuit. Yeah, I'm not kidding, you can literally drive on the same track the F1 cars race on. You even get graded on your driving at the end of the experience. Now that alone makes this park a sought-after place for me to visit. This is one of the most bizarre, yet one of the coolest theme parks I've ever come across. With the park's focus on creativity over your standard thrilling affair, it makes it stand out to me more than your usual theme park. And that creative spirit continues on into the next park on this trip. Up next, we go to the land of the rich and the wealthy. No, not that one. Or that one. Oh, come on, why are we in Miami again? There we go. We next arrive in Abu Dhabi, home to the Yas Marina circuit, which is undoubtedly one of the greatest racetracks the world has ever seen. And I'm sure no one in the comment section will disagree with me on that statement. Okay, who am I kidding? This racetrack is garbage. This track offers nothing but a snooze fest of a race and a pretty fireworks show at the end. And with the championship usually wrapping up before this race even occurs, it makes this the most skippable race every season. That is of course except for 2021, where we got one of the greatest moments in F1 history. Toto Wolff having a complete meltdown after watching Lewis Hamilton lose the championship to Max Verstappen.
Go ahead, Toto.
You need to reinstate the lap before. That's not right.
Toto?
Yes.
It's called a motor race, okay?
Sorry?
We went to car racing.
No, Mikey! No, Mikey! That was so not right!
Here comes Lewis Hamilton though! Down the back straight! He's got a slipstream! He almost touches Verstappen! Championship can only be won by one, and it's going Dutch in 2021. Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world.
Keen-eyed viewers would have noticed that looming above the Turn 5 hairpin is a massive red dome. This dome is home to our next stop on this trip, Ferrari World Abu Dhabi. This massive indoor theme park, themed after Formula One's most legendary team Scuderia Ferrari, features what is admittedly an incredible fleet of coasters and a stunning array of rides and experiences that make this worth spending a full day at. This park's hallmark attraction is Formula Rossa, a roller coaster that launches you out into the desert. Now this coaster is nothing special. I mean, it only goes 149 miles an hour. If you couldn't tell by now or haven't known about this coaster prior to watching this video, this is the world's fastest roller coaster, beating second place King Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure by a whopping 21 miles an hour. This coaster is so fast that riders are required to wear safety goggles as to not have their eyeballs get hit by sand or a bird or Ferrari's terrible race strategy. This coaster is not for the faint of heart, with even seasoned coaster veterans crumbling over the insane G-forces and speeds this coaster delivers. Only someone like Kimi Räikkönen can go on a coaster like this and stay totally deadpan throughout the entire ride. I mean, they don't call him the Iceman for nothing. On the other side of the park, you'll find two other awesome roller coasters. You got Flying Ace Aerial Chase. Oh wait, sorry, wrong park. You got Flying Aces, an intimate multi-looper with an insane amount of airtime and an iconic non-inverting loop, as well as Fiorano GT Challenge, a fun-launched racing coaster where riders race through the desert in cars shaped like Ferrari F430 Spiders. Within the dome, you'll find two other wild coaster creations. First, we got Turbo Track, a shuttle coaster that launches you up the center of the dome before dropping you back to where you came from. Not the most thrilling coaster in the world, but visually it is quite the spectacle. You also got the all-new Mission Ferrari, a dynamic attractions SFX coaster which throws you into a spy movie where you deliver a spy car to Ferrari's factory in Maranello. This coaster is revolutionary in its use of moving track pieces that add a whole new dimension to the roller coaster experience. Its uses of drop tracks, tracks that slide on other tracks, tracks that sit on motion simulator bases, tracks that are tracks, make this coaster so different from anything else out there, and makes this a sought-after coaster amongst coaster enthusiasts. Outside of the obvious one, of course. No, not that one. There we go. Outside of the coasters, you've got some other great attractions, such as Bell'Italia, a cute little car ride that takes you past miniatures of Italian landmarks. Benno's Great Race, a shooting dark ride featuring a mouse driving a Ferrari. Yeah, try to make sense of that one. 3 simulator attractions in Speed of Magic, Driving with the Champion, and Viaggio in Italia. A dark ride called Made in Maranello where you watch a car get manufactured, and your usual assortment of go-kart tracks, family flat rides, and interactive experiences. This is easily one of the standout theme parks in the Middle East, and definitely one of the best parks on this journey. Now, if only Scuderia Ferrari's strategy could be as great as this park.
Box now, box now, box for hard. Stay out. One, tire position 5.
More brake pedal. Brake line exploded.
Stop, change the button on.
I can literally not stop the car, so I have to wait.
Cut from Leclerc.
If we stay at this pace, what are we looking for in terms of position?
If we can keep Bottas behind P1.
Obviously, because you're leading the race, Charles.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
From one of the best parks on this list, we now go to one of the worst. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this park, as I already did a video where I make this park better. You can check it out by clicking the link in the description or the title card above. But anyways, we are now in one of my favorite cities in the world, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This city is home to some amazing architecture, amazing food, a not-so-amazing hockey team, and an amazing racetrack known as the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This track is located on an island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, and is home to some of the most exciting racing seen all year, with a plethora of overtakes and surprise winners that always makes the Canadian Grand Prix a must-watch race. And off in the distance of the Turn 10 hairpin, you'll find our next park, La Ronde. Now, to the unseasoned eye, this park seems like a great park. You know, cool setting, big chunky coaster in the background. But seasoned theme park enthusiasts know about how much of a dumpster fire this park is. Whether it be the rotting buildings scattered throughout the park, or the nonsensical layout the park has, or its atrocious selection of roller coasters, this park has nothing really to write home about. The park's one saving grace is Goliath, a B&M hypercoaster with a boatload of airtime, which combined with its setting makes this an admittedly great coaster. But outside that, you got a Batman clone, a Discovery, and that's it. This is easily one of the most skippable parks on this tour, and after making a whole video on it, I'm ready to move on from this park. Okay, so where are we going now? Aw, shit. Okay, we were gonna have to talk about this one eventually, weren't we? Okay, this is the Sochi Autodrome in Russia, easily regarded as one of the worst tracks the F1 circus has ever visited. There's really nothing to write home about this track, other than that one good race they had here in 2021, where Lando Norris nearly got his maiden win. Other highlights from this track include Lance Stroll being Lance Stroll, a cool overtake from Charles Leclerc in 2018, and one of Daniil Kvyat's classic torpedo moments.
Wait a minute!
There's a spinning Ferrari!
This track was originally slated to appear on the 2022 calendar before being cancelled for obvious reasons, and since then we have never seen the return of the Russian Grand Prix. Now, I'm going to admit that this track is partially the reason why I made this video to begin with, as I'm sure all of you have noticed the massive roller coaster looming over the front stretch going towards turn 2? Okay, yeah, I guess that's a turn right there, but the cars take that flat out and barely feel it. Might as well not even be marked as a turn. Anyways, this park looming in the background is Sochi Park. This park was built in 2014 in conjunction with the 2014 Winter Olympics, which was held in Sochi. Surprisingly, or unsurprisingly I guess, I don't know, this is Russia's first fully fledged theme park. And for what it is, it's actually pretty alright. Highlights include Quantum Leap, a giant inverted boomerang built by Vekoma, and the coaster that you see looming over the track, and Serpent Dragon, a Mack launch coaster that shares the same layout as Blue Fire at Europa Park, though instead of cool theming, they chose to just plop it in a giant gravel trap and call it a day. No wonder they had no gravel to add to the actual circuit. Other coaster offerings include a Wild Mouse and an oval-shaped coaster with cars that feature over-the-shoulder restraints? Why? Other rides include Firebird and S&S Drop Tower, which fun fact is actually the first to feature the bigger 20-seat gondolas. A 60-meter tall Ferris wheel, where for some reason the gondolas are installed in pairs, which leaves these weird gaps between gondolas. An admittedly awesome looking disco coaster. Why couldn't they put that much theming into the Serpent Dragon? And an assortment of flat rides and water rides. This park also features a dolphin stadium and an owl habitat. I guess they wanted to go in a SeaWorld / Busch Gardens direction with this park at one point, but didn't fully commit to the bit. But honestly, my favorite aspect of this park is the massive Bogatyr Castle Hotel. I love how it looms over the park. It's aesthetically pleasing to look at. Again, why couldn't they add this much detail to the Serpent Dragon? So anyways, this park exists. I'm sure the citizens of Russia love it. And like I said earlier, despite my reservations, this park is good for what it is. Some good coasters, some good flat rides, sprinkles of great theming, and even some animal experiences. I can't imagine anyone really wanting to go to this park unless they're in dire need of Russian roller coaster credits. But at least unlike the next park on this trip, you can still visit this park today. Oh wait, maybe not. Okay, so I was a little disingenuous with that last remark, as this park does still exist, though its star attraction is now long gone from this place. Our next stop brings us to the legendary Nürburgring in Nürburgring, Germany. This track has hosted a plethora of Grand Prix throughout the 90s and 2000s, alternating the German Grand Prix with fellow German track the Hockenheimring throughout the years. This track also made a brief cameo in 2020, hosting the Eifel Grand Prix as a last-minute schedule filler after most of the races that year got cancelled for obvious reasons. This track now mainly hosts the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, which utilizes both the GP circuit as well as the almighty Nordschleife circuit in the back of the facility, as well as hosting Rock im Ring, which is widely regarded as one of the greatest music festivals in the world. But we're here to talk about theme parks. In 2009, the facility expanded around the main grandstand to create a better guest experience for those visiting, including a new theme park called ringÄwerk. Now, as it stands, this park does feature a number of fun attractions for those visiting, including a bizarre shooting dark ride called Motor Mania, a truck racing Grand Prix simulator? What the hell? You know, I guess if you really liked Big Rigs the game, this is all you right here. Something called Nurbus Eiffel Tour? I can't find any videos or pictures of this thing, but I'm guessing this is just your regular run-of-the-mill simulator. The 24-hour race in 4D? Could you imagine you actually had to sit there for 24 hours and watch a race? Like, it's already hard enough to watch a race for more than 2 hours, but to do it in 3D as well? I think a lot of people would pass. Yes, I know this show ain't actually 24 hours. Please don't go correcting me in the comment section. And a ton of exhibitions. But what everyone knows this park for is this giant metal sculpture built along the front stretch of the GP circuit. Could you believe that at one moment in time, this was actually a functioning roller coaster? This is Ring Racer, an S&S launch coaster which has gone down in the history books as one of the greatest failures in theme park history. This coaster was originally slated to open in 2009 with the rest of ringÄwerk, but unfortunately during testing of the coaster, pneumatics within the launch system exploded when the coaster was turned up to full power, causing injuries to 7 people and shattering multiple windows in the process. Work would continue on the coaster for the next 4 years, finally opening in 2013, where it stayed open for, you ready for this? 4 days, before closing for good and being left to rot on the side of the track. It was so awkward for me watching the 2020 Eiffel Grand Prix, watching the cars zip past an abandoned coaster knowing the history behind it. Though to be fair, it wasn't really much of a loss. I mean, layout wise, this coaster was horrible. It literally meanders around for a minute before launching into an elevated helix and then dropping into straight track. Yeah, and people want to talk about how Leviathan's straight section is obnoxious. This coaster was literally just a launch and an aerial section, and that's it. Wait, why is footage of Top Thrill 2 playing? Now that I think about it, these coasters are very similar. 2 vaguely F1 themed coasters with minimal layouts that only opened for a couple days before closing suddenly for major issues? Jesus, at this rate, maybe launch coasters themed to F1 are cursed. Well, at least we still have the one in Abu Dhabi. Oh, son of a bitch. Alright, let's switch things up and talk about a water park next. We now find ourselves in Budapest in Hungary, home to one of Formula 1's classic tracks, the Hungaroring. Now, according to lap-by-lap commentator David Croft, this is Monaco without the walls, which is honestly such a stupid remark on what this track is. You see, unlike Monaco, the cars can actually pass here. This track is known for this badass pass by Ayrton Senna, as well as being home to the maiden victories of future champions Damon Hill, Fernando Alonso, and Jenson Button. In recent history, Esti Besti got his only win here after Fernando defended like a lion for him, with Ocon repaying him the next year by constantly blocking him and letting enemy cars drive right by him.
Never in my life I saw a defense like Esteban today. Never.
I swear, this guy doesn't belong in F1. Anyways, keen-eyed viewers will notice a set of water slides in the background at turn 5. This is a water park called Mogyorodi Aquarena. What do I think about this park? It's alright. Look, I'm not the biggest water park guy in the world. I'm not a fan of sharing bodies of water with people I don't know. I pretty much had enough with them after seeing a band-aid floating in front of me for the 50th time. So I'm not the best person in the world to judge a water park. But with that being said, it looks alright. They got a lazy river and a healthy amount of tube and body slides. They also promote some sort of cliff diving thing, which is fun. But yeah, it's pretty comparable to your local water park. Nothing crazy to write home about, but it's cool that it exists. These last 2 entries are currently under construction, but hopefully we do see these parks open in due course. First off, let's head to Austin, Texas, where we find ourselves at the Circuit of the Americas. When someone asks me what is the most generic Herman Tilke track in existence, which no one has ever asked me that, this is usually the first track that comes to mind. It ain't a bad track by any means, there's actually a lot to like about it, but this literally takes Tilke's best tricks and smashes them into one track. You got the rising hill that goes into a hairpin from the Bud International Circuit, the S's from Silverstone, which Tilke did the remodel for, so it kinda counts as a Tilke track now, an overabundance of weirdly shaped corners and hairpins, and a clone of Turn 8 from Istanbul Park. This track doesn't offer the greatest on-track product, but often is a fun race from a strategic point of view. So if you're into those, good for you. Honestly, I think NASCAR produces a more action-packed race here than F1 every year, and this track was built for F1. Now for the last couple of years, this track has been touting that they're gonna build a theme park called COTALand, with its first coaster slated to open in 2022 and its second coaster to open a year later. Though as of 2024, the first coaster has only just started construction, and Lord knows when the second will start. Anyways, let's talk about these coaster concepts, because honestly they're really cool. Now the one currently under construction is called Palindrome. Quick English lesson here. A palindrome is a word that when spelled backwards spells the same word. So words like noon, level, kayak, mom, and as it relates to this coaster, race car. Now, why did they choose to go with this name for this coaster? Well,
let me talk to you!
It's simply due to the fact that this coaster travels its course forwards and backwards. After going down a beyond vertical drop, the coaster flips a couple times over a service road before going up a funky looking spike and returning back to the station. Now, if they had found a way to get the coaster to travel back up the beyond vertical drop and down the vertical lift, that would have been hilarious. But unfortunately, they went with a turntable instead.
Boring!
This is admittedly a really cool coaster, but it doesn't come close to the other coaster in this park. This coaster is called Circuit Breaker and is a Vekoma tilt coaster, the first to be built by Vekoma since Gravity Max in 2002. And yes, there are other tilt coasters in existence, like all those ones in China, and to an extent Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts at Universal Studios Florida. But for the company that invented tilt coasters to finally build one again is monumental. And this one has a hell of a layout, some crazy looking inversions. My favorite being this downward zero G roll that feels like you're in a fighter jet. Now, we don't know what else is going into the park other than the two coasters, but for what is basically a non-existent park at a racetrack, they're really going balls to the wall with these additions. Let's hope this ain't like what happened in Germany, where the coaster gets delayed for centuries, only to immediately close after a couple days of operation. Oh, why is Top Thrill 2 on this screen again? Our last stop on this tour takes us to a track that's not even built yet. Let me explain. This is the Jeddah Corniche circuit, home to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. This track is known for crashes, more crashes, and missile strikes near the track. Yeah, that's a thing. This track has served on the calendar since 2021, with its picturesque setting and at times thrilling racing. But despite the millions of dollars put into the facilities and the reprofiling of roads to suit F1, this track was always meant to be a temporary stopgap for a more permanent track to be built in a new city called Qiddiya. As part of the Vision 2030 initiative in Saudi Arabia, the Qiddiya Speed Park is set to host the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix from as soon as 2027, with its signature feature being this 20-story ascent into the sky, where you hit a hairpin and then plummet back down towards the ground. That element alone got me excited for this track, but what got me even more excited is the other iconic element of this track, where drivers speed through the city, in between buildings and through tunnels, with the creme de la creme being this portion that drives right alongside the last park we'll be talking about in this trip, Six Flags Qiddiya. Now, don't be fooled by the name. Despite this park being named Six Flags, it will be nothing like the Six Flags parks you know and know here in the US. You see, unlike its American counterparts, this park is going to have a massive focus on theming and record-breaking attractions. Now, this park is slated to open in 2025, but whether or not they'll be ready to open this park in time remains to be seen. This park will feature 6 highly themed lands and a flurry of world-class rides and attractions. Let's start with Steamtown, a land based around steampunk. As you know, you can't have a Six Flags park unless you got something themed to steampunk in it. This land will host a water coaster called Sawmill Falls and a Vekoma tilt coaster called Iron Rattler. You then got Twilight Gardens, a kids area which gives off massive Wildwood Grove vibes. Grand Exposition 1896 will be home to a massive hybrid coaster called Colossus, and a Giga Discovery called Gyrospin. Discovery Springs will feature Sea Stallion, a coaster where you can control your speed as you fly over rivers and waterfalls, a good old log flume in Zuma Fluma, and Big Splash, which based on the description I'm assuming is one of those big waves drop towers from Zamperla. Valley of Fortune will feature one of those UFO-looking observation rides that used to show up all over the place in the 70s and 80s, as well as Spitfire, a launch coaster with a swing launch and an inverted top hat. And good news is that this will be built by Intamin, meaning it won't immediately break down like a similar triple launch coaster in Ohio. And finally, we got City of Thrills, which will be home to the world's tallest drop tower in Sirocco Tower, which will tower 475 feet in the air, and what is easily the blockbuster attraction of this whole park, Falcon's Flight. When completed, this coaster will be the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster, clocking in at an eye-watering 155 miles an hour, and at its highest point reaching a whopping 640 feet into the air. This coaster is so massive that even its second highest point is taller than any coaster currently on the planet. Now, in order to achieve this height, they did have to build part of the coaster on the side of a cliff, but it doesn't take away from how ridiculous of a feat this is. I find it funny how when it comes to the coaster record for height, we just skipped 500 feet altogether and just went straight to 600 feet. And as if that wasn't enough, windshields are going to be added to each car to help disrupt the air from ripping your eyeballs out as you blast through the desert. This coaster ends with the iconic moment where you blast alongside the F1 track, and hopefully the coaster will be operating during the race to add that extra visual for both parties involved. You gotta admit, this is a really cool theme park concept. Great ride lineup, great theming, and a cool location. Despite everyone's reservations about this park in Qiddiya City as a whole will definitely leave a mark and have people talking for years to come. As you've seen, some of the weirdest, coolest theme parks out there are built not too far away from the tracks that host some of the world's best racing. Whether it be a park themed to racing itself, a legendary team, or anything outside of the world of racing, these parks add a whole other dimension to a fan's experience when they visit their local track on race day. It looks like we've reached the checkered flag on this world tour, so I just want to take this time to say thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more content like this, then make sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button. All this support helps the channel out and gets videos like this to reach more passionate fans like yourself. Thanks for watching, and until next time, my name is Smooth, and I wish you nothing but smooth travels. Take it easy, y'all.